The courage of the Greek people against Hitler's Axis forces and the Holocaust, that was recognized by American and world leaders to have changed the course of history, has almost been forgotten. The Washington Ochi Foundation, comprised of several dedicated Hellenes, has brought back to life the story of Ochi, the Battle of Crete, the Greek Orthodox Church's public opposition to the Holocaust, stories of the Greeks' David versus Goliath courage that changed the trajectory of the Second World War. Now these stories are being told by some of the most admired people on the planet.
The Ochi Day Foundation is about making clear to all of us that men and women of honor choose the right course even when it's the harder course. When evil knocked on the door at 3 a.m., the reply was Ochi.
The Greek Prime Minister answered the Axis forces' request for surrender with one word, Ochi, or no.
After the world watched the Axis forces overwhelm 15 countries in less than a year, Greece became the first to defeat the Axis invasion, leading United States President Franklin Roosevelt to say, when the entire world had lost all hope, the Greek people dared to question the invincibility of the German monster, raising against it in the proud spirit of freedom.
In the very place where democracy was born, they risked everything so that it might survive.
This is the essence, in so many ways, of Greek courage.
The Greek people who stood up so valiantly for freedom and democracy against the seemingly unstoppable Nazis.
It was Winston Churchill who noted, if there had not been the virtue and courage of the Greeks, we do not know what the outcome of World War II would have been.
Winston Churchill had it right when he said, and I quote, "Hence, we will not say that Greeks fight like heroes, but that heroes fight like Greeks."
The Ochi Day Foundation's Greek secret video, which highlights the important meaning of the Greek people's Philotimo, has been seen by global leaders and over 1 million others around the world.
Our Philotimo, it means duty, loyalty, integrity.
Their bravery in October of 1940 changed the trajectory of the war.
Hitler's Field Marshal and Chief of Staff said, the Greeks delayed by 2 or more vital months the German attack against Russia. If we did not have this long delay, the outcome of the war would have been different.
The strength of Greece that made that victory possible, the pride that people took, the respect that they had for their country, the freedom that they loved so much to protect.
The Greek Church has protected its roots in so many places, and for this I'm grateful.
How many of us could say that were we in the shoes of Metropolitan Chrysostomos on Zakynthos Island in 1943, that I would have had remotely the courage that he and the mayor showed.
In honor of Princess Alice of Greece and His Royal Highness, the royal family, they thank us for that award. Thank you.
His life challenges us. We can't let his death be in vain.
Let us all learn from the Greek people from the 1940s. When faced with powerful evil, let us take the first step to overcome fear and resolutely dare to say no.
Ochi, no. Today, Ochi, it's a powerful word.
We say no to its cruelty, to its corruption, to its constant lying.
The Greek people said Ochi for the Nazis. Today they say Ochi for Daesh.
Democracy and justice thrives on today because of the important role Greeks play standing up against injustice during World War II.
Ochi to the North Korea regime. Ochi to Kim Jong-un.
James Foley said no to the forces of destruction, division, and domination.
Ochi to racism and discrimination.
No to aggression and repression.
Ochi to injustice. Ochi to violence.
Ochi barbarism. Ochi enslavement. Ochi ISIS.
Ochi means no.
Ochi.
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 Ochi, no.
Welcome to the Washington Ochi Day Foundation's 10th Annual Courage and Service Awards, broadcasting from the National Press Club here in Washington, D.C.
My name is Laura Evans Manatos, and I am thrilled to be your MC today as we celebrate Ohi courage, past and present. In fact, today is an especially momentous day, the 80th anniversary of Ohi Day. 80 years ago today, at 3 a.m., Hitler's Axis forces knocked on the door of the Prime Minister of Greece, demanding surrender. The response from Prime Minister Mitsotakis was Ohi, or no. Greece went on to become the first country to stop the Axis horror and inflict a wound that was instrumental to Hitler's ultimate defeat. Their courage led U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt to say, when the entire world had lost all hope, the Greek people dared to question the invincibility of the German monster, rising up against it, the proud spirit of freedom. Hope. It is what we all need in these challenging times. Throughout history, when the world has faced seemingly insurmountable forces of destruction, Greece has inspired mankind with courage in the face of evil and provided hope. Courage, inspiration, and hope is what we are celebrating here with you all today. With the courage of the Greeks in mind, we will honor those who served our country and defended our freedoms in war, and those who courageously fight the evils that threaten humankind today. We would like to thank those who made possible today's celebration, as well as the work of our foundation throughout the year. We want to thank our gold sponsors, the John P. Calamos Foundation, Manatos and Manatos. And thank you, silver sponsors, Nicholas J. and Anna K. Boros Foundation, Jim Chanos, Danialle and Pete Karmanos Jr., the Libra Group, George and Judy Marcus, Dennis and Karen Mehiel, the Metropoulos Family Foundation, and Michael and Robin Psaros. We want to invite you now to take a look on the screen just below the live stream here of our program, and there you will find a link to a full list of our sponsors. You will also find links to all those who appear in our program. We thank you and each and every one of you. Thank you. And if you like what you see today and you want to help us do more, you will see a Support Our Work button where you can make a contribution to our not-for-profit foundation. Before we start our program, we want to start with an invocation from the Greek Orthodox Archbishop of America, His Eminent Archbishop Elpidophoros.
Dear friends, sisters and brothers, today we gather to celebrate the 80th anniversary of Ohi Day, the feast of victory of the Greek people dedicated to the Virgin Mary. On October 28, 1940, the Greek people said a resounding yes to freedom, yes to conscience, and yes to justice. Even as they roared Ohi, no, no to the forces of fascism, to the forces of tyranny and hatred. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, when the entire world had lost all hope, the Greek people dared. They dared indeed. They dared to stand up against the monstrous waves of cruelty unleashed upon Europe. They dared to hope against hope in the holy protection of the Virgin, whose colors blaze on the banner of Greece. They dared to say no to evil, and they risked their lives, they risked their fortunes, and they risked their sacred honor, as once did the lovers of liberty of our American nation. This annual observance of the Ohi Day Foundation reminds all of us of the price of freedom and cost of liberty. I am particularly honored and pleased to join with all of you, the honorees and attendees of the evening, and invoke on all of our behalf this simple prayer. Let us pray. May God the Savior and the hope of all the ends of the earth and of those far off at sea, who is ever merciful and all-loving, keep us worthy of the sacrifices of our martyred brothers and sisters who have gone before us, and keep us strong in our dedication and devotion to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by every human being. May He bless all the honorees and their families, and all those gathered to hold in dear memory the acts of no greater love that we have assembled to pay respect, honor, and indeed glory this evening. And for those fallen heroes of war, martyrdom, exile, and grievous suffering, may they rest with the righteous, and may their bones rest easy beneath the grassy earth. Είναι αυλιστώσιν εν αγαθής και αναπαύσονται με τα δικαίων, και είναι τα οστά αυτών ως βοτάνι ανατήλει, όπως αν είτε ζώντες και η επελπίδη Αναστάσεως και κοιμημένοι, ευχαριστήριον ένων και δοξολογίαν σοι αναπέμπομεν, το κρατεό βασιλεί των αιώνων εις τους αιώνας. Αμήν.
And now to introduce a very special guest joining us from Athens, Greece, is co-founder and managing partner of KPS Capital Partners and leading advocate for Orthodoxy and Hellenism in the United States, Michael Psaros.
Today we celebrate and honor the 80th anniversary of Oxi Day. I commend Archons Andy and Mike Manatos for creating the Washington Oxi Day Foundation and for hosting this solemn event. We all congratulate today's honorees, including the brave men and women who served their countries with honor and distinction during World War II. They fought and died not just for their countries, but also for an idea that was created over 2,500 years ago in ancient Greece. The idea of the primacy of the individual in society, of free will, of free choice, of free expression, of free action, liberty, eleftheria, an idea that rejects tyranny and oppression. Oxi Day is an epic event in the continuum of 2,500 years of Greeks proclaiming Oxi and thus inspiring the world. Greeks again and again endured wars and conflicts in defense of liberty. This idea is part of our culture, our heritage, and our soul, eleftheria. The weight of our history inspired Prime Minister Metaxas on that faithful day and at that faithful moment. The history that includes the triumph of the Greeks at the battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis that saved Western civilization in its infancy. In each battle, each combatant proclaimed Oxi to the despotism of the East. Then Constantinople stood as a wall for 1,000 years against the forces of that same despotism, allowing Western civilization to flourish. Each time an invader was repulsed from its walls, the Greeks proclaimed Oxi. When Greece declared its independence from the Turks in 1821, a watershed moment in the history of human freedom, its heroes proclaimed Oxi. When Prime Minister Metaxas said Oxi and was heard around the world, he joined the pantheon of Greek heroes. And now we are excited to bring you today, 80 years later to the day, from the same spot, the granddaughter of Prime Minister Metaxas, Ioanna Phoca.
Hello, welcome to the house of Ioannis Metaxas, the Prime Minister of Greece. I am Ioanna Phoca, his granddaughter. I was born in this house. Αυτός είναι ο χώρος όπου ο Ιωάννης Μεταξάς, Πρωθυπουργός της Ελλάδας, δέχθηκε τον Εμμανουέλε Γκράτσι το πρωί της 28ης Οκτωβρίου στις 3 η ώρα παρατέταρτο. Ο Γκράτσι έφτασε απροειδοποίητα. Έπρεπε να δώσει στο Μεταξά το τελεσίγραφο εκ μέρους του Μουσολίνη. Ο Ιωάννης Μεταξάς, φορώντας τη ρόμπα του και τις παντόφλες του, οδήγησε τον Γκράτσι σε αυτό ακριβώς το χώρο. Μόλις καθίσανε, ο Γκράτσι του επέδωσε το τελεσίγραφο. Πήρε το χαρτί και άρχισε να διαβάζει προσεκτικά. Όταν τελείωσε την ανάγνωση, κοίταξε τον Γκράτσι κατάματα και συγκινημένος του είπε. Alors, c'est la guerre. Επομένως έχουμε πόλεμο. Συγκάλεσε το Υπουργικό Συμβούλιο και κατέβηκε αμέσως στην Αθήνα. Στις 4 η ώρα το πρωί όλοι είχαν συγκεντρωθεί. Έπρεπε να υπογράψουν τα διατάγματα της Γενικής Επιστρατεύσεως. Πρώτος υπέγραψε ο Μεταξάς. Έκανε το σταυρό του και είπε «Ο Θεός σώζει την Ελλάδα». Ο ενθουσιασμός, η ομοψυχία και το κουράγιο που επέδειξε ο ελληνικός λαός. Οι Έλληνες, ένα μικρό κράτος, αντιστάθηκε στον μεγάλο κολοσσό που ήταν ο άξονας εκείνη τη στιγμή. Το όχι των Ελλήνων άλλαξε τη ροή της ιστορίας. Ήταν η πρώτη νίκη κατά του άξονα. Ενώ μεγάλα κράτη είχαν υποχωρήσει, μία μικρή Ελλάδα έδωσε το κουράγιο σε όλο τον κόσμο. Θεωρώ ότι το Washington Day Foundation έχει κάνει μια τεράστια προσφορά προς την παγκόσμια ιστορία, την ελληνική ιστορία, την Ελλάδα και όλους τους Έλληνες του κόσμου.
Εγώ ως απόγονος του Ιωάννη Μεταξά και ως Έλληνας πρωτίστως είμαι ευγνώμων προς το Washington Day Foundation διότι πήρε μια σημαντική στιγμή της ελληνικής ιστορίας και της παγκόσμιας ιστορίας και την έκανε σύμβολο της αντίστασης και του κουράγιου των ανθρώπων οι οποίοι αγωνίζονται για αρχές σε όλο τον κόσμο.
On behalf of Ioannis Metaxas family, thank you Washington Day Foundation for all you do to celebrate Ochi, κουράγιο, past and present. Thank you.
As many of you watching know firsthand, one of the most moving and inspirational events here in Washington, D.C. each year is the Ohi Courage Awards. And each year we gather at this time at the U.S. Institute of Peace. While we are very sad that we can't gather together in person this year to celebrate Ohi Courage, we are excited, thanks to our generous sponsors, to bring this unique and powerful event to thousands around the world for the first time ever. We want to check in now live with people from across the globe who are tuning in right now at socially distanced watch parties. First, we are going to check in with Athens, Greece, and Mike Galanakis and friends. And Mike, I got to see you here in the screen here. I know we are so excited to check in with you because you are experiencing large Ohi Day celebrations there in Athens, Greece for the 80th anniversary where they are celebrating big. And we are so happy to see you tuning in. Do we have Mike? There is Mike right there. I hope you are enjoying your evening and thank you again for checking in. Now we want to check in with our friends in New York City and the president of Atlantic Bank, Nancy Papaioannou. She is at the New York Greek Consulate with the Consul General, Konstantinos Koutras. Hello, Nancy, waving your flags. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate you hosting that watch party and joining us for this special celebration. And traveling west now, we go to the central United States, and we're going to make a stop in Chicago, Illinois, where the Manos family is joining us, watching with friends, and John and Elena Manos. We've already been with Mike Galanakis in Athens, but we see you there, Mike. But it's always worth a trip back to Athens, of course. And there's John and Elena with all of their friends in Chicago, Illinois. Thank you, John and Elena, for joining us. We appreciate you so much. We want to go to the West Coast. We cannot be forgetting the West Coast in Los Angeles, California. And a huge hello to Kelly Vlahakis-Hanks, Kelly, and her ECOS team from Earth Friendly Products headquarters. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us and the whole team there. Awesome. That factory is amazing if you haven't been. It's amazing in Cypress, California. Kelly and friends, thank you for joining us for this very special celebration. Wonderful to see you all. So each year, the Washington Ohi Day Foundation honors veterans who courageously fought to defend freedom and democracy in war with the Ohi Service Award. For the past decade, that moving ceremony has been held at the majestic National World War II Memorial here in Washington, D.C. Past honorees include astronaut John Glenn, Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole, and other American, Greek, and Greek-American heroes who fought in World War II, the Korean and Vietnam Wars. This year, we are excited to honor two more remarkable heroes with two new awards created to help commemorate the 10th anniversary of our foundation. Our first new Oxi Service Award is the Calamos Service Award for a Greek American who served honorably in the Vietnam War. Introducing the first recipient of this award is the man after whom the award is named, decorated Vietnam veteran, chairman of the National Hellenic Museum, and founder and chairman of Calamos Investments, John Calamos.
I would first like to thank the Washington Oxi Day Foundation for their honorable work and to congratulate them on their 10th anniversary. I'm exceptionally grateful to the foundation for honoring me last year with the Jaharis Service Award, especially because I was the first Vietnam veteran to be honored. In my acceptance speech, I talked about the unfortunate treatment Vietnam vets received when we returned home despite the sacrifices we had made. During my tour in Vietnam as a forward air controller, I flew Cessna 02 Skymasters, controlling airstrikes to support our ground troops, and I was always proud to wear my United States Air Force uniform. When it was time for me to fly home, this time as a passenger, my commander told me not to wear my uniform on the airplane to avoid stirring reactions from other passengers. Our homecomings were anything but warm, and our service was often overlooked, even by our families. Receiving recognition by my service for 50 years later was a very important moment, and I have both the Manatos and Jaharis families to thank for that. Following last year's ceremony, the Oxi Day Foundation decided it would honor a Vietnam veteran every year with the Calamos Service Award. Having an award established in my name to specifically honor Vietnam veterans is a tremendous honor, and I'm especially proud to announce it on this 80th anniversary of Oxi Day and a milestone anniversary for the Greek people. I can think of no better first recipient of the Calamos Service Award than the Flying Greek, S.Pisanos, who served in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. He and I shared a proud history as Air Force pilots and recipients of the Distinguished Flying Cross. As you will learn in the tribute to follow, the story of S.Pisanos is an outstanding example of Greek-American story. It's about hard work, wanting more to yourself and your family, and unwavering commitment to our country. To help preserve Mr. Pisanos' legacy for generations to come, I'm honored to have co-sponsored a short film about him titled The Medal Behind the Merit. In cooperation with the Distinguished Flying Cross Society, we had premiered the film at the National Hellenic Museum, where I serve as chairman on the board. Prior to his passing, S.Pisanos donated items from his personal collection to one of the National Hellenic Museum's exhibits entitled The Greek Story in America, which illustrates the important contribution of Greek Americans to the military. I am proud to be part of bringing Mr. Pisanos' story to life for future generations and to present the inaugural Calamos Service Award to his son Jeff on his behalf. The Calamos Service Award by the Oxi Foundation right now is to honor Vietnam veterans. My service was really in Vietnam, where I flew over 400 missions, over 800 hours of combat time. I was really proud to defend our nation. I think what moved me about Steve's story was his autobiography, phenomenal story. Being a Greek immigrant, coming to America, serving in World War II, he served in England, he served in that, also serving in the Korean War, and then serving in Vietnam. I thought it was just amazing to have that kind of history and that experience that he had.
My father's life started in Athens, Greece. As a child, he was walking outdoors one day and noticed this biplane in the air doing aerobatics. And he watched this plane, and he watched this plane. And he thought to himself, he says, that's it. He says, I am going to become a military aviator. He realized his greatest opportunity to meet his goal was to try to make it to America. Arriving in New York, I did get a job in a bakery. On weekends, he would take what he earned and took flying lessons. Eventually made it to the RAF, where they took him in as a pilot officer. He ended up becoming an aviator. He spent 30 years in the United States Air Force, retired as a full colonel. Nothing could stop my father from doing what he wanted to do. If you look up the definition of courage, it is defined as a man with no fear. That was my father. He had no fear. And I know he told me on many, many missions that he went on that he flew with courage and no fear. On one of his missions to Bordeaux, France, returning, his engine quit. At about 22,000 feet, you just don't bail out of an aircraft. So he took the aircraft down to about 5,000 feet, removed himself from the cockpit to the wing of the aircraft where he was going to jump. He struggled to pull the cord loose, and then he realized as he looked up that the aircraft was about 500 feet off the ground. He had no chance to jump, and so he reached inside the cockpit, grabbed the stick of the aircraft, pulled it back, went over the barn, stalled the aircraft, and crash landed. He was thrown from the wing, dislocated his shoulder, and the Germans had seen him come down and started firing at him. He evaded the Germans until the French underground picked him up and kept him for 6 months. Paris was liberated, and then all the pilots made their way back to England. My dad's proudest moment in his lifetime was May 3rd, 1943, London, England. He was the first American citizen naturalized on foreign soil. His last assignment in 1970 was to be chief of the Air Force mission in Athens, Greece. He thought that was the greatest assignment that he could ever receive. It was a full circle for him, from Athens to the United States, back to Athens. I think my father would be very appreciative and very proud that you have bestowed this award, the first Calamos Service Award, on him. I know that he's received a lot of awards in his lifetime, but this being a special award from a Greek organization will make him proud.
He really honored our country. He lived the American dream, the way he put it, and he got the Distinguished Flying Cross as well. I thought that was really special. S.Pisanos, with his phenomenal career in being a Vietnam veteran, to receive this award this year.
Yasu friends, my name is S.Pisanos. I want to thank the Washington Ohi Day Foundation for presenting the first Calamos Service Award to my father, S.Pisanos, the Flying Greek. I am honored and privileged to accept this award for him, and I know you have made him proud. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Our second new Ohi Service Award is the Dilboy Service Award, named after the first Greek American to receive the highest award for valor, the Medal of Honor, George Dilboy. Here to introduce the first recipient is Ohi Day Foundation Advisory Board member and founder of Marcus and Millichap, George Marcus.
I'm glad to be here as part of tonight's celebration, the 80th anniversary of Ohi Day. Fantastic. The remarkable courage that the Greek people showed 80 years ago today, and the inspiration and hope they spread around the world is needed now more than ever. This year, the foundation has instituted the Dilboy Service Award, named after George, great first name, Dilboy, first Greek American to receive America's highest and most prestigious military decoration for valor, the Medal of Honor. Dilboy fought for Greece in the Balkan Wars and for the U.S. in World War I. Before turning 22, Dilboy had fought in 4 wars in 3 continents. Totally amazing. I am proud to introduce tonight the first recipient of the Dilboy Service Award, my fellow San Franciscan, an area native and a World War II veteran, A.Mousalimas. Mousalimas was one of the 200 volunteers to join the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, which was the forerunner of the CIA and the Green Berets. His group, which had 90% casualty rate, secretly parachuted behind enemy lines into occupied Greece. They destroyed infrastructure and pinned down, imagine this, 32 crack German divisions that otherwise would have been sent to France to stop the Allied invasion on D-Day. While their exploits were kept secret in the US for more than 50 years after the war ended, Hitler knew them well. On October 18, 1942, he issued his infamous Führer order, which decreed that all OSS members, whether armed or unarmed, are to be slaughtered to the last man. In 2018, A.Mousalimas received the highest civil honor bestowed by the US Congress, the Congressional Gold Medal. Its first recipient was George Washington in 1776, and only 135 others have received it, including Winston Churchill and Mother Teresa. His gold medal stated, his work in OSS resulted in some of the bravest acts of the war and forever changed the course of history. Remarkable. Sadly, Mr. A.Mousalimas passed away in May of this year at the age of 95. However, tonight we are honored to have with us to accept his award for him, his 8 grandchildren. Congratulations to the A.Mousalimas family on his prestigious award. Now please enjoy the following tribute to the 2020 Dilboy Service Award recipient, Andrew A.Mousalimas.
You wouldn't know it to look at him, but this mild-mannered gentleman was a top-secret commando who blew up bridges and gathered intelligence on the enemy during World War II. Meet...
My name's Andrew Sam A.Mousalimas. I'm from Oakland, California.
Andy, as he's known, worked for the forerunner to the CIA, back then called the OSS.
Well, we didn't know the OSS from SOS.
The OSS stands for Office of Strategic Services, a group so shadowy even Uncle Sam didn't admit to it.
The government wouldn't even acknowledge that you were in the war?
No, VA wouldn't acknowledge it. People thought I was lying.
Andy is 93, but was only 18 when he and his buddies, Perry and Alex, the Phillips brothers from Oakland, enlisted.
When you're that young, you think you're infallible. You know, you're going to go, you're going to kick butt, and that, you know.
But what the boys signed up for had a high casualty rate, 90%. They played the odds and joined the little-known OSS so they wouldn't be split up.
This way, we'll be together.
These 3 young guys from West Oakland were sons of immigrants who could blend in. The mission of the OSS, infiltrate Nazi enemy lines in occupied Italy, Yugoslavia, and Greece. In other words, wreak havoc.
And it was hit and run.
For that, Hitler put a hit on them, the edict, shoot on sight. Andy says a group of his fellow OSS Italian-American buddies were sold out by the fascists.
Turned them over to the Nazis, and all 16 of them were executed.
While Andy, Perry, and Alex were wounded in Greece, they were never turned in by the villagers.
Always be thankful for that.
Proud to wear the ball cap, he's considered the granddad of Special Forces. Andy A.Mousalimas may be a war hero, but he hates war. Humble, but not shy. He also ran the well-known bar and restaurant King's X for years. Andy even co-founded the first fantasy football league.
Fantasy football and internet. Probably the best marriage in America.
It takes a lot to impress Andy, but being awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor is pretty special. And when Harrison Ford personally congratulated him, that was something.
Probably the only guy in Hollywood that knows the OSS.
It may be because Ford's alter ego, Indiana Jones, was reportedly also a member of the top-secret OSS.
See this down here?
Up until recently, all of Andy's escapades have been confidential. The files only finally unsealed in 1987. Andy's neighborhood pal, Perry, never lived to see that day.
Did it pain your dad?
Very much so, yeah.
But his daughter, Frosine, was proud to represent her father at the medal ceremony in D.C. and share stories of the young soldier's valor and adventures. Many, if not most, of those who fought alongside have long since passed away. You can bet if Andy A.Mousalimas has anything to say about it, they won't ever be forgotten.
Good evening, and thank you to the Washington Oxi Day Foundation and Mr. George Marcus for such a beautiful tribute and honor to our Papu, Andrew A.Mousalimas.
We also congratulate the special occasion of the Washington Oxi Day Foundation's 10th anniversary and the 80th anniversary of Oxi Day. We applaud tonight's treasured recipients and thank our global viewing audience.
It is a great honor for our family to accept this prestigious first Dilboy Service Award in memory of our beloved grandfather. We affectionately called him Papu Opa, a fitting name for a man with a giant personality and amazing life from Oakland, California.
Our Papu and dynamic Yaya, Mary A.Mousalimas, had 5 children, 7 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, with a 3rd on the way. Their legacy lives on through us, as well as through Andy's published memoirs of World War II.
Like Mr. Dilboy, who also served in the U.S. Army, Papu Opa's service in its Office of Strategic Services Greek Battalion was recognized after 75 years with the Congressional Gold Medal in 2018.
While we heard stories through the years and are incredibly grateful for this award, the one piece of advice our Papu always impressed upon us was to never glorify war.
Thank you, Washington Oxi Day Foundation.
Thank you and congratulations. Philotimo, a powerful Greek word with so many meanings. The Washington Oxi Day Foundation produced a short film about Philotimo titled The Greek Secret, which has now been seen by over 1 million people, resonating with people all over the world. Take a look now at the trailer for that film.
Philotimo could be translated as love of honor or respect for honor.
All Greeks know it, even if they've never heard the word before, until now.
Compassion and generosity.
To rise above pettiness and trivialities.
Humility and pride, love of family, love of country.
To give in others without asking for anything in return, but love and affection.
Whenever you mention the word Philotimo to a Greek, you're always going to see a softening of the eye.
The desire to be remembered motivated some of the most heroic acts in ancient Greek history.
There were 300 Spartans against all the Persians.
They knew that they're going to pay a very heavy price, the heaviest price that you can ever pay, but they still did what they thought was the right thing to do.
And it is really a remarkable treasure that has permeated every aspect of Western civilization.
Every time that you deviate from honorable and decent and dignified way of behaving and living, people will ask you, don't you have Philotimo?
Don't you have the Philotimo to assist the people who are in need? Don't you have any Philotimo?
When you go outside of your home, you're not just going by yourself. You're taking the name of your father and your mother with you.
You feel as though you are accountable much far beyond yourself, to your family, to your community, and to your history, your legacy.
I would actually call it a sort of a binding undercurrent of what unites Greeks around the world together.
I went all over the country in 1987 asking Greeks to support me for mayor of San Francisco. There was only one reason they did it. It was out of Philotimo.
Greeks around the world, both here and elsewhere, are accomplishing amazing things. With Philotimo playing in the background, I think there's a strong sense amongst the Greeks that we're pretty special people.
In 1943, the German military commander ordered Metropolitan Chrysostomos and the mayor of Zakynthos to prepare a list of the Jewish community on the island.
Because they were the ones who knew the community better than anybody else. Tell us who all your Jews are. And they says, we'll give you the list.
They returned to the Nazi leader with an envelope with a list of names, 2 names, their own.
These 2 leaders embodied everything that word tries to encapsulate.
It really ultimately means what it is to live a good life.
They can better tap into this Philotimo that their ancestors have used throughout time. They too can accomplish great things.
To introduce the winner of the 2020 Philotimo Scholarship Competition, please welcome trustee of the Nicholas J. and Anna K. Burris Foundation, the Honorable B. Theodore Bozonelis.
Each year, the Washington Oxi Day Foundation
takes great pride in recognizing and celebrating courage, duty, honor, and love of country. In one word, Philotimo, the love of honor. To help the next generation of Greek American students better understand and appreciate this guiding light, the Washington Ochi Foundation once again offered college scholarship to students grades 6 to 12 who could best define the concept of Philotimo. And this year, to celebrate the Foundation's 10th anniversary, the amount of scholarships granted was doubled to a total of $10,000. Each student was asked to watch the Foundation's Greek secret video on the subject of Philotimo, the trailer for which you just saw, and answer in an essay what Philotimo means to them. This video has now been viewed by over 1 million people around the world. The Foundation was very pleased to receive competitive submissions from dozens of students all across the country. The winner of the 2020 Philotimo Scholarship Competition and a $4,000 scholarship was Irina Athena Cholakis, a high school senior from Ashburn, Virginia. Congratulations to Irina and the other winners, and thank you to all of those students and their families who shared their thoughts on the importance of Philotimo in the world today. Now please welcome Irina Athena Cholakis to read passages from her winning essay on Philotimo.
Thank you to the Washington Ochi Foundation for my scholarship and this opportunity to share with you some passages from my winning essay on what Philotimo means to me. I wrote, as the pandemic reached my local community, frustrated with unrealized expectations, fear, and confusion, I channeled my emotions towards optimism. I found courage, motivation, and strength, the chords of Philotimo resounding in my heart. Without restraint and without solicitation, I knew I had to step up and pivot, investing compassion, ingenuity, and vigor to defend, support, and protect my family. Fueled by my faith, desire to support and honor my heritage, love of legacy, and gratitude for my own blessings, Philotimo was the undercurrent that propensed me to broaden my impact to those in need, and I was soon delivering up to 50 servings of soup weekly. Anticipating a greater need in the colder months, I created my very own nonprofit, Philocom, combining my guiding principles of Philotimo with the love of my community. Bound together by Philotimo, the unhindered spark of even one person, when shared with others, can achieve exponential levels of success, measured in humanity, kindness, and compassion. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ioanna, and congratulations, huge congratulations for all the work that you've done. Thank you. Our next award of the evening is our Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award. To speak about the courage of the Greek Orthodox Church during the Holocaust and in recent times is Ochi Foundation board member and Vicar General of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, Father Alexander Karloutsos.
Friends all, being asked to speak at this posthumous award ceremony for the ever-memorable Congressman John Lewis, the recipient of the Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award, is truly a sublime honor. The courage and the humanity of Congressman Lewis shine like a bright morning sun, rising over our increasingly dim and polarized world. Like all great beings before him, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Damaskinos, or Metropolitan Chrysostomos himself, in saying ochi to hatred, falsehood, and injustice, John Lewis said yes to love, to truth, and to righteousness. During the horror of the Holocaust, it was the clarion voice of Archbishop Damaskinos, who, in imitation of St. Paul, spoke truth to the Nazis that in Christ there is neither Jew or Greek. And it was the intrepid response of Chrysostomos of Zakynthos to the Nazi occupiers that he and the mayor were the only Jews on the island, which enshrined his Eminence's name at Yad Vashem in 1978 as righteous among the nations. When Archbishop Kyriakos of blessed memory was invited by Martin Luther King Jr. to join him and other freedom fighters on their march to Selma, the Archbishop, born as a second-class citizen in Turkey, said no to systemic racism and yes to freedom. Just a few weeks before, John Lewis himself had watered the Edmund Pettus Bridge with his own blood. As the scripture says, drops of blood falling upon the ground. In honoring John Lewis this day and the heroic martyrs before him, let us remember to honor their spirit each and every day by bringing to our own trials and tribulations the same faith, hope, and love that they brought to a hard-fought and painful struggle that is yet to be won. Thank you for this honor, and may their memory be eternal.
To introduce the person who nominated our award recipient, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives is Ohi Foundation Advisory Board member and Chairman of U.S. Corrugated, Dennis Mehiel. Dennis, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Laura. Today, on the 80th anniversary of Ohi Day, it is particularly important that we reflect on the tradition of courage and determined commitment to hope this day evokes for Greeks around the world each year. And congratulations, by the way, to the Washington Ohi Day Foundation on our 10th anniversary. I've been proud to support this mission celebrating Ohi courage, past and present, from the very beginning. Next, we'll be awarding our prestigious Chrysostomos Award, which is presented each year to an individual, and I'm quoting, for their commitment to combating anti-Semitism, discrimination, and intolerance. Previous recipients of this award have included Princess Alice, mother of Prince Philip, who hid a Jewish family in her home across the street from Gestapo headquarters in Athens, Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, and former President of Israel, Shimon Peres. The award is named after the Greek Orthodox Metropolitan I'll try this, Zakynthos, I'm close, who showed great courage in protecting the lives of the island's Jewish residents during the Holocaust. It is my great honor to introduce the person who epitomizes the characteristics of this award and who nominated and will introduce this year's recipient, my longtime friend, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. The Speaker has been a steadfast supporter of Greece, of religious freedom, and of democracy. She works tirelessly to protect the rights of those in this country who need help the most. She champions their causes and uses her powerful voice to combat indifference and injustice. The Speaker has personally been a part of this foundation's work in previous years to honor modern-day heroes fighting tirelessly for the sake of the greater good. Today, she will introduce the recipient of this year's prestigious Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award, her friend and former colleague, who will forever be remembered and revered as the conscience of the Congress.
Hello. It is a joy to send warm greetings to Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, His Eminence Archbishop Elpidophoros, and my many friends in the Greek American community at the Washington Ohi Day Foundation's annual Courage and Service Awards. 80 years ago today, the Greek people confronted Axis forces and with one defiant word, Ohi, defended liberty for the world. For a decade, led by Andrew and Mike Manatos, the Foundation has celebrated the legacy of this momentous event by honoring all those who continue to stand against discrimination and oppression around the world. Now it is my honor to announce the recipient of the 2020 Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award, our hero, the conscience of the Congress, Congressman John Lewis. John was an inspiration to all peace-loving people. His work symbolized the triumph of freedom over fear, hope over hate. He recognized the fight for civil rights was not the work of one person, community, or generation, but instead it is our shared duty to advance liberty to all. Whether confronting injustice on freedom rides, facing violence on Edmund Pettus Bridge, or leading with vision and grace in the Congress, John harnessed his goodness, faith, and bravery to transform our nation. In everything he did throughout his extraordinary life, John worked on the side of the angels, and now he is with them. On behalf of the United States Congress, it is a privilege to present the Lewis family with the Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award in recognition of John's brilliant life and service. Now please enjoy this beautiful tribute to John Lewis.
Was something deep down within me, moving me, that I could no longer be satisfied or go along with an evil system.
Life was extremely dangerous when we were growing up. John Lewis had the respect of everybody because he was the one who demonstrated the most courage. He'd been beaten and knocked down and get up and go to find another battle. John was focused on ending voter suppression, and it wasn't that he was a great orator, it's that he was a great spirit. The power of spirituality and humility, and the willingness to suffer rather than to inflict suffering.
One of the things that John has taught us is that, yeah, you may have to sacrifice, but if you're sacrificing for a cause, something bigger than you, and you really believe in it, then you will have people following you.
I think he is the singular figure that has tried to carry out the work of our nonviolent campaigns into the halls of Congress.
From day one, John Lewis was a role model for the members of Congress, whether they were freshmen or here a long time, because he brought with him a kind of heft, a weightiness of purpose.
I got arrested a few times during the 60s. 40 times. And since I've been in Congress, another 5 times.
And all of these decades later, while he and others of his generation achieved much, we're still fighting against police brutality and fighting for our voting rights. And so we best honor him by continuing to fight the good fights that he fought, by staying in good trouble. We will create a beloved community. We will redeem the soul of America. As a nation and as a people, we will get there.
Climb to the mountain top, and one day we'll win together.
thank Speaker Pelosi for nominating and presenting the 2020 Metropolitan Chrysostomos Award to Congressman John Lewis. Speaker Pelosi, you know how much the Congressman loved you. You and he started your congressional career together as a sister in service for what is so right for our country and the American people. I personally want to thank you for all of your wonderful support. I'm truly humbled. To President Andrew Manatos and Executive Director Mike Manatos and the Washington Ohi Day Foundation family, thank you for this distinguished recognition. On behalf of Congressman Lewis's family, I humbly accept this award. I will share with you that this is my first opportunity to accept an award posthumously for Congressman Lewis. It is still so unreal and so unimaginable that this amazing spirit that we love and admire for his life of courage is not here with us today to receive this special award in person. His voice is missed so much. Nonetheless, the true meaning of Congressman Lewis's legacy is being remembered in so many ways by people all over the world who are getting in good trouble, necessary trouble. The tremendous Ohi courage that the Greek people showed in World War II and during the Holocaust is similar to the courage shown by Congressman Lewis throughout his life. Both inspired country and others around the world to fight the good fight. Once again, thank you for this great honor.
And we are honored to have in our program today, on this 80th anniversary of Ohi Day, the Prime Minister of the Hellenic Republic, Kyriakos Mitsotakis. To introduce the Prime Minister is the founder of Metropoulos and Company, Dean Metropoulos.
I'm honored to participate in this 80th anniversary of Greece's Ohi Day declaration to the German invading forces in Greece. Greece has been the beacon of democracy, liberty, art, mathematics, and the origins of almost all of humanity's ideals and modern accomplishments. As Lord John Dalberg Acton once said, save for the wild force of nature, nothing moves in this world that is not Greek in its origin. In addition to Greece's intellectual and scientific contributions to the world, the nation has fought throughout the centuries with great sacrifice to preserve the ideals that we have inherited against tyrants and empires such as the Persian Empire that was defeated 2,500 years ago in Thermopylae and Salamis, as well as the German forces during World War II. After invading 15 countries, Germany lost more troops in Greece in one day in Crete than they did in the previous 15 months during this invasion of the 15 countries. Hitler was quoted as saying, "The Greek soldier above all fought the most courageous." Winston Churchill also said, "Hence, we will not say that Greeks fought like heroes, but that heroes fought like the Greeks." It is well documented that Germany's invasion of Greece, which took 30 to 60 days, was pivotal in delaying Germany's attack to Russia and confronting the devastating winter that caused the huge losses that they faced in the Russian battles. Roosevelt declared that when the world lost hope, the Greek people challenged the invincibility of the German monster. Women in Greece from its earliest beginnings have also played an admirable role both as fighters, like Boubourina, as well as in the intellectual contributions to the world. Our Orthodox Church and its leaders have also been a critical part of our history, both in fighting for peace and fighting for peaceful causes. During World War II, Archbishop Damaskinos vehemently denounced the German Holocaust. He was honored by being featured in Time magazine for his advocacy. In these recent times, Greece, under the highly respected leadership of Kyriakos Mitsotakis, has also successfully waged war against the COVID pandemic, having reacted very quickly and effectively to the spread of this terrible disease. Greece has also been a great partner to the United States. In fact, in a recent visit by Secretary of State Pompeo to Greece, he was quoted to say, "We the Americans look to Greece as a true pillar of stability and prosperity in the Eastern Mediterranean, and we're very proud to support the leadership." We're very proud of you, Prime Minister Mitsotakis, for your commitment and great talent that you bring to Greece and our shared destiny with our beloved America. It is now with great pleasure that I introduce to you the Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis.
It is always an important moment when we honor individuals who have devoted themselves to serving the country. Tonight is one such moment, and it is taking place against the backdrop of a most important occasion, the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of Greece's resistance to fascism. 80 years ago, Greece delivered the famous Ochi, or No to the Axis. That single, powerful rallying call helped unite the Greek people and drove their determination to fight for what they held most sacred, their freedom. Today, we are called on to remember that historic day, October 28, 1940, and pay tribute to those who turned Ochi into action on the field of battle and gave their lives in the line of duty. The anniversary gives us an opportunity to pause and reflect collectively on this heroic, defining moment. A moment when, without any second thoughts, our nation chose freedom over totalitarianism. Greece opted, along with our allies, to stand by democracy, self-determination, the rule of law, and human rights. That is why this day is a milestone, not just in our history, but also in the historic heritage we share with the United States of America. Today, being on the external border of the European Union, in a highly unstable region, Greece is again called on to play a critical role in ensuring respect for our shared core values. As a nation, we are committed to the fulfillment of our responsibilities in this regard, in line with the Ochi legacy. I would like to take this opportunity to underline our renewed and strengthened relationship with the United States, fostered through our common struggles and tailored towards a brighter future. Let me congratulate the Washington Ochi Day Foundation for this year's awards, the 10th Annual Ochi Courage and Service Awards. The John Lewis legacy, immense as it is, has not been confined to the United States. It is universal. As for the doctors who sacrificed themselves to save the lives of their patients during our most recent global struggle, this terrible pandemic, well, their courage and sense of duty is an example to us all. Happy Ochi Day.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Your words are meaningful and impactful. Courage. It is defined as the mental or moral strength to persevere and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. In these uncertain and challenging times, courage is something we all seek to find in some way, almost every day. To speak about the importance of courage in the world today, please welcome Ochi Day Foundation Advisory Board member and co-founder and chairman of Concordia, Nicholas Logothetis. Nick, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start out by saying thank you to the entire Ochi Day team for their hard work in hosting such an important event, and to offer a special thank you to Mike and Andy Manatos for inviting me to be part of this day. Even though we are gathering in a different way this year, I'm no less honored to be in such prestigious company. As an immigrant to this country who became a proud U.S. citizen 5 years ago, this day has always held a lot of meaning for me and my family. This year feels especially poignant as we recognize the 80th anniversary of Ochi Day and all that it represents. It is a tough act to follow Prime Minister Mitsotakis, a leader whom I greatly admire, and I'm proud to share this virtual stage with him. Thank you for your leadership. Recognizing courage and heroism, both of those who have gone before us and of the modern-day heroes who live among us, is what Ochi Day has always been about. But it's difficult to think of a time when this has been more critical. This year, we face a global pandemic with parallel crises of economic uncertainty and social injustice. Grappling with these issues has required courage from all of us, in both big and small ways. When I think of courage in today's world, one of the things that comes to mind first is the heroic first responders who have been putting their lives on the line in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The early and decisive action taken by the Greek government, as well as the heroism of Greece's first responders, have been an inspiration to the rest of the world as the pandemic took hold. Though there are still very difficult days ahead for Greece and beyond as it relates to the pandemic, it is my great privilege to be here to pay tribute to all those on the front line who helped avert what could have been a far greater death toll at the hands of this deadly disease. There are many quotations about what courage means exactly, but a unifying theme among them is that the idea that courage involves persevering despite fear, opposition, and resistance. This year's Oxi Day honorees all embody the description. Today, we come together to recognize the Wuhan whistleblower doctors who are the very definition of courage, risking their jobs, their safety, and their professional reputation to save the lives of others, both patients in Wuhan and others around the world, unaware of the full evil of this pandemic. We also remember Congressman John Lewis, who at the age of just 23 was the keynote speaker at the historic March on Washington, this just being one of the many incredible achievements in a lifelong commitment to the civil rights movement. Speaking out takes courage. Congressman Lewis also showed courage in his battle with pancreatic cancer, and although he lost that fight this year, his legacy will never be extinguished. We honor Dr. Costa, Chief of the Critical Care Division at Mercy Medical Center in Baltimore, who was one of the thousands of medical workers who lost their lives fighting this pandemic. Dr. Costa continued to work in the ICU despite being immunocompromised, knowingly putting himself in harm's way to help his patients and the community. The epitome of courage. And finally, we recognize S.Pisanos and A.Mousalimas, two highly decorated World War II veterans, whose bravery and sacrifice exemplify why theirs was truly the greatest generation. As we fight a very different battle on the global stage this year, we remember people like these, who remind us of the resilience of the human spirit. For all of this year's honorees, the fight for our health and safety, as well as the fight to bring equality and freedom to all people, may have at times felt insurmountable, but giving up was and still is out of the question. Oxi Day always brings to mind great and memorable acts of courage and heroism, but the power of that one word, Oxi, can equally apply to so many aspects of our daily life. No is always more difficult to say than yes. Humanity's shared compassion can lure us into becoming people pleasers, but those with true integrity are those who walk the less trodden paths and have the courage to say no. Be prepared to say no to people who are used to hearing yes, and never let loss of your integrity be the price of saying yes. As Steve Jobs once said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. In addition to recognizing courage and heroism, the purpose of this day is to celebrate the power of hope. I am thankful to have had the opportunity to remember those who are inspiring hope as we find our way through these difficult times and look to better days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. As the Washington Oxi Day Foundation celebrates its 10th anniversary, here to share with us the remarkable work the foundation has done over its first 10 years is the founder and president of the Washington Oxi Day Foundation, Andrew Manatos.
Thank you, Laura. The Washington Oxi Day Foundation illuminates and transmits widely the incredible and moving stories of those who risk and give everything in order to do the right thing. The foundation effort has become increasingly important. Open access to the world's communication network is overloading it with divisive, unsubstantiated misinformation that frequently obscures the right thing. It's an anathema to our democracy and to civilization. But amid this polarizing disarray, the Oxi Courage recipients stand out even brighter as role models for us all. Their moving stories of risking and giving everything to do the right thing unites in admiration conservatives and liberals, the rich and the poor, the young and the old, of all races and nationalities. The foundation's explanation of the Greek Oxi Day courage in World War II and among our award recipients has reached the top of the British royal family, presidents of the United States, vice presidents, speakers of the House, Senate majority leaders, secretaries of state, congressional committee chairs, Holocaust survivors, decorated veterans, senior government officials, and world-renowned leaders, thought leaders and humanitarian leaders, as celebrities such as Bono and Amal Clooney. Additionally, the foundation has reached millions. Media reporting alone has reached tens of millions across America, Tunisia, Burma, Israel, China, Pakistan, Kenya, Cuba, Ukraine, Iraq, Azerbaijan, the UK, Syria, Korea, the Netherlands, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the Philippines, and of course, Greece. The foundation touches another very important audience, those among our Courageous Award winners who are survivors of assassination attempts, and there are many of them, tell us that their exposure to such high levels in Washington is their best protection. We look forward to honoring the 2020 Ochi Courage Award recipients.
The Ochi Courage Award links brave freedom fighters in the world today to the examples set by the Greeks when they answered the Nazi demand for surrender with a defiant and courageous no. By creating the Ochi Courage Award, they have found a way to give voice to the voiceless and hope to people fighting for freedom in some of the darkest corners of the world. There is no corner of the world today darker than North Korea. The fact that there is someone like Ji Sung-ho with so much courage, persistence, fearlessness, and hope conveys a powerful message that the North Korean regime, with all of its nuclear weapons and its brazen threats, will not survive the resistance of its own people and their indestructible humanity.
We are joined by one more witness to the ominous nature of this regime. His name is Mr. Ji Sung-ho. Today he lives in Seoul, where he rescues other defectors and broadcasts into North Korea what the regime fears most, the truth. Your great sacrifice is an inspiration to us all. Please, thank you.
Today we honor James Foley with the 2014 Ochi Day Award for his courage and his values in defense of peace, liberty, and freedom. As a frontline journalist, he took on the important job of shining a light on some of the darkest parts of the world. He was a voice for so many who had been silenced, and he fought always to bring us the truth. He represented hope in a time and place of so much despair.
I think courage is hard to define. I think we all want to be courageous and we think we might be, but you don't know until you are tested. His life challenges us. We can't let his death be in vain.
His life is a model of what a 21st century citizens ought to be. And now it's our turn to model his story, to share it with others.
You know, the thing is there's physical courage, right? For some reason, I have physical courage. But really, think about it, that's nothing compared to moral courage. I can go and get those shots, but if I don't have the moral courage to challenge authority, to write about things that are gonna maybe have reprisals on my career, if I don't have that moral courage, we don't have journalism.
We raise our children to admire that kind of bravery and that kind of courage. We raise them to be the Davids who battle our modern-day Goliaths. We teach them to try to be like Nadia, having every reason to withdraw from the world. You summon the courage to stand up and say, no, no. On behalf of all the women in my life and all the women in this country who endured hardship. Thank you for giving them courage.
عندما قلت لداعش لا.
When I told ISIS no.
هددوني ومن يعلم ربما أدفع ثمن ذلك.
They threatened me and who knows maybe I will pay the price of that.
ولكن بالرفض لهم وجدت نفسي إنسانة تمتلك الإنسانية.
But by refusing them, I found humanity in myself.
And now for our final two awards, the Ohi Courage Award presented each year to a male and female who have shown the Ohi courage to say no to great evil. To introduce our first Courage Award recipient is philanthropist, activist, and social entrepreneur Danialle Karmanos.
On the very last day of last year, the very first people in the world exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms were being treated in Wuhan, China. Today, over 40 million people worldwide have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and over 1 million have tragically lost their lives to this terrible disease. On the front lines, courageous doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers continue to risk everything to save severely ill patients, rushing towards danger as others are sheltered in place. When the virus first appeared in Wuhan, the epicenter of this deadly pandemic, emergency personnel quickly recognized the unprecedented risk that this SARS-like illness posed to public health, as well as the dangers it meant personally. Instead of shying away, they stepped up to fight and alert others, activating all resources to protect fellow citizens. So today, we honor the Ohi courage of the Wuhan whistleblower doctors with our 2020 Ohi Courage Award. From the first moment of the day of this global outbreak, they began their daily battle on the front lines, courageously and selflessly risking their own lives to save others. As the first doctors to interact with COVID, there was no blueprint, no known treatment protocol, no global medical community to consult. Early on, at least 4 doctors on the front lines at Wuhan Hospital died from COVID-19, and several others were diagnosed with the disease. As the virus spread globally, we watched as the fatigued doctors wearing handmade personal protective wear, administering experimental treatment, and imploring people to social distance. These powerful images were reminiscent of Crete in the midst of World War II, when Greek women used household items to arm themselves and stave off invading Nazi paratroopers. They are at once arresting and inspiring. They offer the kind of hope, resilience, and courage we need in these dark times. Again and again, doctors have shown unsung heroism in fighting against this pandemic. These remarkable individuals were the first to face COVID head-on and did everything to sound the alarm. Congratulations and thank you to the 2020 recipients of the Ohi Courage Award, the Wuhan Whistleblower Doctors.
It was a disease that no other doctor had seen before. The patients were showing flu-like symptoms, but usual treatment methods were not working on them. Soon the report was circulated across Wuhan's medical circles. Other doctors began talking about this new virus, this mysterious disease.
He first warned friends on WeChat about a SARS-like disease going around. The test result from a patient quarantined at the hospital where he worked showed a patient had a coronavirus.
Police in Wuhan arrested 8 people for, quote, spreading rumors online. It turned out that all 8 were medical professionals. They were predicting a SARS-type outbreak, and they weren't wrong.
She tried to raise an alarm about the Wuhan virus, but her voice was muzzled.
The Wuhan doctor who was the first to alert other doctors about the spread of coronavirus has disappeared.
Why is this doctor so important? Why must her story be told? Not only did she find the virus, she even spoke about it. She told everything that she knew, and now nobody knows where she is. Gone missing for reporting on the Wuhan virus.
He went from treating patients to becoming one, diagnosed with the Wuhan coronavirus.
A hospital in China has confirmed that the so-called Wuhan whistleblower doctor has died. He warned his fellow doctors in advance about novel coronavirus, that it looked like SARS. He was then investigated for spreading false rumors.
Dying less than a week later in the same hospital in which he worked. But if action had been taken when he and others started sounding alarms, the severity of the outbreak might have been understood sooner.
我们十分感激他，我们应该向他学习。
每次一场死神交战的时候呢，我们是绝不退缩的，永不放弃的。
我们觉得他每一个都是活生生的人，我能救他，哪怕有一点点希望，我们都会把他都要付诸行动，我就尽量给他机会吧。
时候我们都会就是一场就每一场真的就是一场生死之战，每场就是一个病啊，就是一场生死之战。
Here to accept this Courage Award on behalf of the courageous Wuhan whistleblower doctors is Wuhan human rights lawyer Jim Lee. Jim, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you. It is a great honor for me to accept the Oxi Courage Award on behalf of courageous whistleblower doctors in Wuhan, the Chinese central city where I was born, raised, and had worked. While the whole world remembers Wuhan as the ground zero of this global pandemic, few know that the city was the site for uprising that toppled China's 2,000-year imperial rule in October 1911 and ushered in the Republic of China, the first republic in Asia. 80 years ago today, when the Greek people courageously stood up to seemingly invincible Nazi forces, the city of Wuhan also put up fierce resistance against fascist invaders. Knowing Wuhan's glorious past, one is not surprised by what the Wuhan whistleblower doctors did early in this year. From the first day of this global outbreak, the doctor began the daily battle on the front lines, courageously, selflessly, to save others. More important, when the government suppressed and censored information about the coronavirus outbreak, they risked their careers, well-being, in exposing the Communist Party's cover-ups and alert the rest of the world against the deadly potential of this threat. One of those whistleblowers, Dr. Li Wenliang, died from the COVID-19, but others continue to fight and refuse to be silenced. I'm a big mouth. No matter what pressures are, I'm going to talk about the virus to whoever wherever I could, said a doctor to her suppressor. Just as the Greeks said Ohi to the Nazis, the Wuhan whistleblowers not only said Ohi to COVID, but also Ohi to disinformation, censorship, and political suppression. This is truly virus from a human society. The Wuhan whistleblower doctors, they are true heroes. By recognizing them, the Ohi Courage Award inspired all of us to follow their footsteps and say Ohi to virus and evils from nature and also from human society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us. To introduce our final award of the night is Ohi Foundation Advisory Board member and president and founder of Kyriakos Associates, Jim Chanos.
Hello, I'm Jim Chanos, and I am honored and a bit saddened to present the Ohi Courage Award on behalf of the Ohi Foundation to Dr. Joseph Costa, who was the chief of critical care at Baltimore's Mercy Medical Center. Dr. Costa tirelessly worked with COVID-19 patients this past spring and summer until he contracted the disease himself and succumbed to it in July of this year. Dr. Costa's award will be accepted by his husband, D.Hart, and his family. We are tremendously saddened by Dr. Costa's passing, yet remembrance of all that he did by selflessly putting his life literally on the front lines to battle this horrible disease is an inspiration for all of us in these trying times. When thinking about what I was going to say to celebrate the memory of Dr. Costa, I was struck by the words of Marianne Rodmacher, who said, "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the little voice at the end of the day that says, I will try again tomorrow." And in these times of increased stress and dissension among us all throughout a deadly pandemic, I think those words, in thinking of the memory of Dr. Costa, would all do us well. Thank you again to his husband and to his family for accepting this award on behalf of the Ohi Foundation. The Ohi Courage Award goes to Dr. Joseph Costa in memory. Thank you.
This week, we highlight another life well lived. We all know how dangerous the coronavirus has been. It's now killed more than 170,000 people here in the U.S. One Baltimore doctor with a rare autoimmune disorder knew those dangers and still put himself on the front lines every day. Dr. Joseph Costa was the head of the critical care unit at Mercy Medical Center in Baltimore.
These are stressful times. You guys are all doing a great job, and I'm proud to be part of this team.
For the past several months, he spent his time at the bedsides of the sickest COVID patients in the ICU he ran, even though that put him in mortal danger. That's because of an inflammatory condition in his lungs and lymph nodes. As the pandemic got worse, his husband of 28 years says he begged Costa not to go to work, but the doctor refused because he wanted to be there with his staff. He didn't want them to face the risks alone. Joseph Costa grew up in Maryland and stayed close to home, earning his medical degree from the University of Maryland School of Medicine. He eventually wound up at Mercy Medical. His colleagues describe him as selfless, caring, and committed to his patients. And a statement from the hospital says he dedicated his life and career to caring for the sickest patients. And when the global pandemic came down upon us, Joe selflessly continued his work on the front lines. Joseph Costa, a critical care doctor who put his patients' needs above his own, died last month of coronavirus, a month after he was diagnosed with COVID-19. He was surrounded by his husband and nearly 24 hospital colleagues and friends when he passed away. Dr. Joseph Costa was 56 years old.
to receive our Courage Award on behalf of Dr. Costa are his husband, D.Hart, and his father, R.Costa. Congratulations, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today we stand together as global citizens facing an international crisis. It is a moral moment, one that requires great courage. Every person around the world has an important part to play. A mother juggling the education of her children and the care of her family. A grocery store clerk ensuring we are able to buy necessities. A postal carrier delivering medicine or monthly checks. Or a healthcare worker who places the patient's well-being above their own. This is a moment that binds us together. Like the Greeks 80 years ago who stood up heroically to the Axis powers and said, "Ohi." Today, we are equally determined to surmount this threat and emerge a more compassionate and more united as human beings. Joe never liked being referred to as a doctor. He always told his patients to call him Joe. That was his essence. He saw the world through an egalitarian lens, often telling me to look down and not up, meaning be aware of those who are less fortunate. He had a special place in his heart for those less fortunate. Whether a patient battling COVID or a housekeeper at work who needed help paying her child's tuition, Joe stepped in to offer encouragement and work toward solving the problem. He did so quietly, unreservedly, and with a gentle grace. At this time, it is important to recognize and honor the sacrifice of the more than 1,000 healthcare workers in the United States and the many additional healthcare workers around the world who also have given their lives for their fellow man. Additionally, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the financial stipend attached to the Ohi Courage Award will be the first gift placed into the Joseph J. Costa Charitable Trust, which will launch tonight at midnight. You can visit josephcostatrust.org for more information. In closing, I would like to share with you all that Greece held a very special place in Joe's heart. Greece was the last place we were able to visit. The hospitality shown us in Athens and in the islands, especially the island of Chios, is something I will always treasure. Now I'm going to try and do this. Sas Ethachristomé Ia to Vavreo. Thank you all very, very much. It's an extreme honor.
We are honored to have you with us, both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Congratulations to our honorees today. Thank you again to our sponsors who made this event possible. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you for the National Press Club who hosted us today. Thank you to the amazing video production team at Zilla Media. And thank you to our phenomenal MC today, my beautiful wife, Laura Evans Manatos. This program will be broadcast in its entirety on our website where you're watching it now. So if you want to share that with friends or watch it again, we'd love to have you do that. Thank you all for being with us today, and happy 80th anniversary of Ohi Day.
Enjoy the day. Thank you for being with us.